As a result of the bombing of Pearl Harbor by the Japanese on December 7, 1941, Americans became suspicious of Japanese Americans, especially in the West Coast.
The United States Treasury froze all of the assets of the Japanese Americans, even those of Japanese American citizens who had lived in America for many generations. FDR's reaction was to give Executive Order 9066.
Under this, Roosevelt, his Secretary of War, and his commanders were allowed to prescribe military areas in such places and of such extent as he or the appropriate military commander may determine, from which any or all persons may be excluded. Within a week of this order, all the U.S.-born sons and daughters of Japanese immigrants were ordered to evacuate their homes and only take with them what they could carry on. It was then ordered that all people of Japanese descent would be removed from California.
At this point, Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9102 on March 8, 1942, which created the War Relocation Authority. This created a civilian agency that was tasked with speeding the process of relocating all the Japanese Americans along.
A few days after this, the first wave of evacuees arrived at the Manzanar War Relocation Camp, which was comprised of tar paper barracks in a desert where most of these evacuees would spend the next 3 years of their life.
Eventually, there became 10 internment camps, holding more than 110,000 Japanese Americans, who would spend the remainder of World War II living there.
Then in 1944, the United States Supreme Court ruled in Ex parte Mitsui Endo that it was beyond the power of the War Relocation Authority to detain citizens against whom no charges or disloyalty of subversiveness have been made for a period longer than necessary to separate the loyal from the disloyal.
Then, in 1948, President Truman signed the Evacuation Claims Act, which gave internees the opportunity to submit claims for opportunity lost as a result of the relocation. It violated their rights and discriminated against Americans who sang the national anthem just as proudly as any other Americans.
Executive Order 9066 was extremely unfair and unjust to the Japanese Americans living in the United States at the time. President Ford formally rescinded Executive Order 9066 on February 16, 1976. Also, in 1988, Congress passed the Civil Liberties Act, which stated that a grave injustice was done to the Japanese American citizens and resident aliens during World War II.
Overall, Executive Order 9066 was a terrible use of the presidential power and destroyed Japanese American lives for no reason but sheer suspicion and paranoia. Now, there is a memorial for the grave injustice done, and this event in American history is looked back upon with nothing but regret and disgrace.